Welcome to Disciple Dojo. In this episode, I want to tell you about a resource that some of you out there, particularly those of you who are New Testament Greek nerds, may be really excited about. A couple of years ago, I had my friend Dr. Michael Halcomb on the channel, and we talked about Greek. We talked about particularly Koine Greek and Koine error pronunciation, the differences between that and Erasmian Greek pronunciation that a lot of people learn. That's the sort of the default Greek pronunciation that people learn in seminary. And he mentioned just offhand a name of Dr. Benjamin Cantor, and that just sort of put his name on my radar, and I made note of it. And then a while back, I was looking at Benjamin Cantor's website and came across a resource that I thought was really cool. So I ordered a copy just so I could look at it and share it here on the dojo, because I know for some of you, this will be right up your alley. So if you find this helpful and if you appreciate resource reviews like this, great way to show that appreciation is by subscribing to this channel if you haven't done so already. And be sure to click the notifications icon, because a lot of times we give away the resources that we review here on the channel, either on one of our live streams or a random post here on YouTube. Not a video, but just a post on the feed. So the only way to stay on top of that is not just by subscribing to Disciple Dojo, but enable notifications. That tells YouTube, hey, YouTube, let me know when this channel posts anything. And that way you're more likely to be in the know. So with all that out of the way, let's talk about the Vaticanus Bible. So what is the Vaticanus Bible? If you go to koinegreek.com, that's the main website for the Vaticanus Bible. And there's a link where you can purchase it, which is the set that I have. And then there's an overview about what is the Vaticanus Bible and why should I use it for my Bible reading. So it says, one of the earliest New Testament manuscripts, the Vaticanus Bible is a pseudo-facsimile of Codex Vaticanus, which is one of the earliest 4th century AD manuscripts of the New Testament. But this includes chapter and verse references, so you can easily navigate and find your place in this manuscript. It's a convenient, handheld, 5x8-inch size. And here on the website, you can find audio and video readings from the text that help you aid in pronunciation. So the goal is to be able to read the text like people did in the ancient world. Now, at koinegreek.com, if you click on the listen part, the audio Bible, it'll take you to a page where you can listen to the books of the New Testament being read in Koine pronunciation. So here's a sample at the top. This is John 1:1. Here it is in the Greek that most people who learn Greek are familiar with, this lowercase Greek writing style with all the accents and breathing marks. And here it is in this uppercase Greek that you find in a number of the older manuscripts. And here's what it sounds like.
Εν αρχαίην ο λόγος, και ο λόγος εν προς τον Θεόν, και Θεός εν ο λόγος.
So there you go. That's John 1:1, just a quick sample. They also have Matthew, John, Romans, 1 Corinthians, and Colossians. So if you want to listen to Romans, click on listen, and here are all the chapters in the book of Romans. Go to Romans 1.
Παύλος, δούλος Χριστού Ιησού, κλητός Απόστολος, αφορισμένος εις Ευαγγέλιον Θεού, ο προεπεγγείλατο δια των προφητών αυτού, εν γραφές Αγίες.
Now, at koinegreek.com, they also have Watch. And if you click on Watch, this will take you to their YouTube page, which this is it right here. So this is not reading scripture. This is actually him giving a speech. He is dedicated to learning ancient or Koine Greek as a living language, not as a dead language.
Ρωτάγε αποχάριτος, υπερκεϊκός του λόγου άρξομε. Τις μεν τιμές, χάριν επίσταμε πάσιν, το γαρόδε εις την σκηνήν, συν της ενδοξοτάτης ρήτορσης συγκληθήνε, με εις την μη τιμήν.
So this gives you an idea of how Greek at the time of the New Testament or shortly after would have sounded. It's different than the way we learn Greek. I say we, those who learn Greek in seminary or college. That's sometimes called Erasmian pronunciation. And there's debate about what Greek actually sounded like. Koine Greek was common Greek. It was the Greek that was spoken throughout the empire. And we know just in English, there are different types of English. The English that they speak in India is different than the English that they speak in Britain, which is different than the English spoken in the Caribbean, which is different than the English spoken here in the States. And even in the United States, there are different dialects of English. You go to a small town in Appalachia or a large city on the West Coast, and it may sound like a completely different language. So all of these resources are at koinegreek.com. But I want to talk about the Vaticanus Bible and actually show you what the physical copy, consists of. Now, in New Testament text criticism, there are certain old manuscripts that are considered incredibly valuable. They go way back in time, and they contain a lot of the Bible. Now, there are thousands and thousands of manuscripts that contain just pieces, like maybe one page, or some of them are even like small scraps that just have a couple of sentences at most on them. But in terms of like whole manuscripts or largely complete manuscripts, there aren't that many. So the ones that do exist are very important. A couple of those are Codex Sinaiticus, Codex Alexandrinus, Codex Bezae, and Codex Vaticanus. When you're looking in the text critical apparatus of something like the Nestle-Aland 28th edition, Codex Vaticanus is designated with the letter B in the textual apparatus. And the Wikipedia page has a pretty good overview of what it is and why it's important. Now, you can find the entire Codex Vaticanus scanned digitally online. If you go to digi.vatlib.it, the Vatican website that has scanned and digitized, you can see all of the pages. And it's a huge manuscript. It's over 1,500 pages, handwritten pages. And you can actually click on these pages. Click on page 1536, and it'll pull up. This is what the final page looks like in Codex Vaticanus. You can zoom in really close. You can see the script that it was written in. And the text of Scripture, as you can see, is in this capital letter running Greek script. There are barely spaces between words. Some of the ink is flecked off over the years. There are breathing marks and accent marks that have been added. These were not originally part of the original manuscript. They were added later. And so you can look at this and read through all of the text of Codex Vaticanus, but it's a little unwieldy. The original manuscript was written, you can see each page was 3 columns. And there aren't chapter or verses anywhere on the page. It's running script. There are no division between words. So it takes some practice to be able to read this, certainly to read it fast and comfortably. But it is available digitally online, and it's also available in facsimile format. You can actually buy a facsimile, like the actual size, a reproduction of Codex Vaticanus. You go to apmanuscripts.com/Greek/Codex Vaticanus, and you can buy your own version of this. Same size, really close approximation to what it actually looks like. That's what a facsimile is. But it's going to set you back, in this case, $500. And it's big. It's unwieldy. You can't just carry it around with you, because up until the invention of the printing press, no one could carry around a complete copy of the Bible very easily. There were no such thing as small, compact Bibles. Bibles were big. If you ever are interested, look at the facsimile of Gutenberg's original Bible and look at how huge that thing was. And even with the invention of the printing press, Bibles were still large because the Bible is not a single book. It's a library of books. And so that's where the Vaticanus Bible comes into play. Up until now, if you wanted the Greek text of the New Testament, you would need to get something like, this is the Nestle-Aland, is the 27th edition. They're on the 28th edition now. This is a large print version. You can get it in a smaller compact version, which is what a lot of seminary students get. And if you're unfamiliar with it, this is what it looks like. You've got the Greek text on the page. It's in the lowercase, later Greek script. The breathing marks are there. There's a textual apparatus here at the bottom. So this is the critical text that's been reconstructed by text critical scholars using things like Codex Sinaiticus, Codex Vaticanus, Codex Bezae, and Codex Alexandrinus, along with the many, many other manuscripts. And they list them in the back, the name of the manuscript here in the margin, what century it dates to, the library that it actually can be found in today, and what parts of the New Testament that manuscript consists of. And so you can see here, In the back of the critical edition of the Greek New Testament, you see this letter B, or sometimes it's called 03, depending on which system of categorization you're using. It dates from the 4th century. It can be found in the Vatican Library. That's why it's named Codex Vaticanus. And then here's what it contains: the Gospels, the general epistles, and the Pauline epistles. And those are the New Testament texts. It also contains large sections of the Old Testament in Greek as well, what we know of as the Septuagint documents. But when you're reading this, you're reading, again, the critical edition, the edition that text critical scholars have put together. And so what Benjamin Cantor has done has said, all right, this is the critical edition. This is what seminary students and people learning Greek are familiar with. But what would it be like to read like the ancient readers? The text they were looking at, no breathing marks, no accent marks, not written in the lowercase Greek, but written in the uppercase Greek, and all the letters run together. That's what the Vaticanus Bible editions seek to replicate. This is like having a portable version of the New Testament, not the Septuagint, but the New Testament of Codex Vaticanus that you can take with you wherever. So here's what the first page of John's Gospel looks like in Nestle-Aland. And here is that same page in the Vaticanus Bible. So zooming in, you can see a very big difference. Now, this is a pseudo-facsimile because it's not exactly like the actual manuscript in a couple of ways. Number one, you can see that Cantor has added verse references, chapter and verse references along the outside margin. This is for ease of reading. They're written in the same script. They're outside of the text because these were not included in the manuscript. This is just so you can quickly find your place in the text that you're reading. He's also removed the breathing marks and the accent marks that were added later to the Codex Vaticanus. So this gives you practice in reading this flowing script. And it's even more helpful when paired with the video or audio resources on the website. Another cool thing is he has kept in the marginalia. So each of these pages is one column from the manuscript. The original Codex Vaticanus, every page has 3 columns. So what he's done is put each column on its own page, and at the top, he's used the page of the manuscript and put A, B, or C beside it. So this is page 1350A, or alpha. And this tells you that this is column 1 on the actual page 1350 in the Codex Vaticanus. Then the next page, 1350B, that is column 2 of page 1350. And then 1350C, that's column 3 of page 1350. So in the original manuscript, these 3 columns were all on one page. But to make it compact and easy to carry around, he split them up so it's easier to navigate. Another helpful thing about this is you'll see a lot of these lines in the text, and these are scribal marks that denote things like abbreviations or contractions. Sometimes the word God, theos or theou, is just abbreviated to theta and upsilon. And so I think this is an example of that right here. This is part of why the manuscripts all differ so much, because some manuscripts, the scribes would use this kind of shorthand or abbreviations. Certain words like Son of God or Jesus or God would be abbreviated, and a little line would be put over it so you'd know that's what's going on. He also included different marginalia, these little scribal notations in the margin. They let you know when there's something going on in the body of the text itself. Now, sometimes these kind of things are spelled out, maybe in the apparatus of critical editions, but they're usually not put in the text itself. So a lot of introductory Greek readers and non-text critical specialists just aren't familiar with what the actual manuscripts look like. And it's also even included some of the artwork, some of the scribal marginalia art designs that have been put in the text. This is at the end of the Gospel according to John, for instance. It also preserves the formatting. For instance, in Luke's genealogy of Jesus, you can see how it's laid out, showing you that it is a genealogy list, whereas Matthew's is structured a little bit differently, but still there's some spaces here to preserve, to let you know, the scribe letting you know you're reading a list, you're not reading running prose. Now, at the beginning of each volume, there's a chart that gives you the Greek letters, how you're used to seeing them written in Greek textbooks or in modern Greek, and then what they look like in the Codex Vaticanus and a lot of other ancient manuscripts. But remember, manuscripts were hand copies, so the Greek in one might look different than the Greek in the other because it's literally different handwriting. There's a table of contents, then there's a preface, and this is where Benjamin Cantor explains why he produced this thing. What's the need for it? And he says, many of us learn Greek because we want the experience of reading the New Testament in its original ancient language. The Vaticanus Bible allows us to go one step further by offering us the experience of reading the Greek New Testament in one of its original ancient forms, just like the ancients did. And I like that he says in one of its original ancient forms because it wasn't standardized. There were different forms that the New Testament took. This is one of them, but it's a very significant one of them. As a language teacher, I purpose to do whatever I can to bring my students face to face with the ancient world, its language, and its texts. At the same time, dealing with ancient primary sources can sometimes have a steep and intimidating learning curve. This is especially the case when it comes to reading ancient manuscripts. Navigating hundreds of pages without chapter or verse numbers, without spaces between words, written in an unfamiliar script and peppered with unexpected spelling variants, can be a challenge for the beginner. Even for seasoned scholars, reading ancient manuscripts is often restricted to a purely academic setting. The idea that someone could carry around a facsimile of an ancient manuscript as their personal Bible is as unthinkable as it is impractical. Such facsimiles are often as heavy as they are expensive, like the $500 facsimile version that we saw a few minutes ago. I eventually came up with the idea that a facsimile of an ancient manuscript of the Greek New Testament should be made into an affordable, handheld book with chapter and verse numbers in the margin to facilitate reading. The Vaticanus Bible, Gospels, was the first volume in such a series of pseudo-facsimile Bibles. The second, the Vaticanus Bible, Acts and Epistles, completes the New Testament portion of Codex Vaticanus. And then there's an overview of the differences between this and the original Codex, breaking it up into pages with A, B, and C for the 3 columns on each page, adding in chapters and verses, and then removing the accent and breathing marks from the text because they weren't original. And then it just jumps right into, in this case, Acts of the Apostles. Now, you can also see that the order of the books, this was not fixed in the time when Codex Vaticanus was produced. So the order of books is different. After Acts come the general epistles, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, Jude. These are in the back of the normal Greek New Testaments that we're used to. But in Codex Vaticanus, this was the order that they were put in. Then you come to Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. You don't have the pastoral epistles. You do have Hebrews, and you don't have Revelation. Those are missing from Codex Vaticanus. So let me make something really, really clear. This is not intended to be the original Bible. This is not intended to be the pure New Testament. This is intended to be a portable and affordable and easily accessible recreation of a particular and a very influential ancient manuscript from the 4th century. This is intended to help Greek students get better at reading Greek in a different form than what they learned in seminary, in a different form than the modern Greek maybe that they've learned or grown up speaking. So because this is YouTube, because people are always searching YouTube for ancient or hidden or secret esoteric books that have been left out or things that the church has been hiding, some people are probably going to get riled up just by seeing the name Vatican in the word Vaticanus, not realizing that it's just the name of the library that this is kept in. So put aside all of that and just see this for what it is, an aid to help you get better at immersing yourself in the Greek of the ancient patristic era. If that's something that interests you, check out the Vaticanus Bible. I think it would be right up your alley. Once more, this is available free online. You can read the entirety of Codex Vaticanus. You just got to do some scrolling. You have to have access to a computer and the internet. So if you don't want that, if you want something portable, this might be of interest to you. So hopefully this review is helpful. If it was, let me know in the comment section below. Have you used the Vaticanus Bible, or is there another form of the ancient Greek New Testament that you prefer? I am not a Greek textual critic nerd. That's not my area of specialty. I had to learn just enough of it to be able to navigate biblical scholarship, but it's not something that I've focused on over the years. So this resource, it intrigued me, it interested me. Like I said, after my discussion with Dr. Michael Halcomb, he mentioned Benjamin Cantor by name. So I went online, I looked it up, I saw this resource, and I thought, man, this would be pretty interesting, and I bet some dojo viewers out there would want to know about it. So I bought a copy, looked through it, read over it, and I wanted to let dojo viewers know about it in this video. So if this was helpful, a great way to show your appreciation for it, again, is to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Stay tuned. I may be giving away this set at some point in an upcoming live stream or as a post on the channel. I haven't decided yet. I'm probably going to keep it and use it for a little while, but shelf space is something that I don't have an excess of, and so at some point, this may be a dojo giveaway. If that is what we end up doing, the only way that you will know about it is by subscribing to the channel and enabling notifications when you subscribe. That'll do it for now. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more here at Disciple Dojo. And as always, in the meantime, keep training.